Have you ever walked into a room and felt it shift? Not because anyone spoke, not because someone tried to impress, but simply because of the weight of a presence. A presence that doesn't demand attention, doesn't seek applause, yet draws eyes, slows breaths, and holds the moment. That is a mystery most chase, but never truly experience. Instead, people exhaust themselves in the pursuit of likes, approval, and fleeting recognition, mistaking noise for significance. Here's the truth. The louder you shout for attention, the smaller your presence becomes. True magnetism does not need applause. It is silent. It is steady. It is real. So, the question I want you to hold as we move forward is this. How do you cultivate a presence that commands without demanding, influences without forcing, and captivates without performance? That is what we will explore together today. Stay with me, and I promise by the end, your understanding of presence, independence, and influence will deepen in ways you can feel immediately and practice daily. Imagine someone entering a room full of chatter, flashing screens, and restless energy. They say nothing. They were nothing flashy. They don't announce themselves. Yet somehow, the energy shifts. Conversations pause, glances are drawn, and the air feels heavier in the most subtle way. That is the quiet gravity of true independence. Independence is not a show. It cannot be borrowed, faked, or mimicked. It emerges only from internal discipline, from the choice to live a life aligned with your principles rather than the fleeting whims of approval. Consider the small, deliberate acts of independence. Ordering what you genuinely desire, not what others choose. Wearing what resonates with your sense of self rather than trends. Spending your time on what nourishes you instead of what impresses others. Small as they may seem, these acts accumulate into a foundation, a life whose value you define yourself. Marcus Aurelius observed, "We all love ourselves more than others, but care more about their opinion than our own." To reverse this imbalance is liberation. Independence is not isolation. The mistake many make is equating it with loneliness. Fear isolates, strength connects. Standing alone, yet grounded in self-respect, allows you to engage with others fully, intentionally, and without compromise. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." That bravery is quiet. It is the courage to act from principle rather than reaction. Think of an ancient oak tree. It doesn't announce its strength. It simply stands, roots deep, branches steady through storms. That steadiness is magnetic. People notice it before it is spoken, and that, in its essence, is true independence. Ask yourself, am I living for myself or the expectations of others? Am I choosing based on desire or fear of rejection? Do my actions reflect my principles or borrowed approval? These are uncomfortable questions, but the answers plant the seeds of self-mastery. Start small. Spend an hour alone. Make a decision without consulting anyone. Visit a place purely for your own joy. At first, restlessness may creep in. Then clarity emerges. Solitude, once feared, becomes your teacher. Epictetus reminded us, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things beyond our control. Independence is the application of that freedom, living anchored in your actions, principles, and values rather than external opinion. Presence, too, flows naturally from this foundation. Picture someone whose impact lingers even after leaving a room. No performance, no drama, just calm energy that makes people feel safe, seen, and steady. That is silent elegance. It rests on three pillars: composure, intentional movement, and mindful interaction. Composure is mastery of self. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. When you are steady amidst chaos, people feel it. They sense that you are unshaken, unhurried, and unbothered by noise or distraction. Intentional movement amplifies composure. The way you walk, the subtle cadence of your voice, the steadiness of your gaze, all communicate discipline and confidence. Mindful interaction is the final pillar, listening more than speaking, asking thoughtful questions, and resisting the urge to fill silence. In a world addicted to noise, listening itself becomes influence. As Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Time spent listening is not wasted. It builds trust, connection, and presence. Even the smallest details matter. Consider scent. A subtle fragrance, worn with consistency, becomes part of your signature presence. It does not shout. It whispers, leaving a trace that is remembered. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." I would add, your presence, including the details that accompany it, reflects the care of your choices. Choose simplicity, care, and intention. Let your habits of grooming, dressing, and presenting yourself echo the discipline of your mind. The result is magnetic presence that feels effortless yet undeniable. Presence also demands emotional intelligence. Imagine someone in a tense conversation who doesn't react impulsively but listens, observes, and responds deliberately. That skill transforms interactions. Marcus Aurelius said, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth." Emotional intelligence is that willingness to adjust, to listen, and to lead without forcing. It is self-awareness, empathy, and self-regulation combined into quiet influence. People follow not because they are commanded, but because they are guided with composure. Another layer is consistency. The person who quietly fulfills commitments, keeps promises, and shows up even when inconvenient earns trust that words alone cannot create. Carl Jung said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." Reliability is proof. It is subtle, often invisible, yet felt in the foundation of every relationship. Small acts, returning a call, honoring a deadline, keeping a vow, compound into reputation. Over time, this creates the unspoken authority of trust. Speaking less and meaning more is another cornerstone. In a world overwhelmed by chatter, restraint becomes influence. Words are like currency. The more you spend recklessly, the less value they hold. Speak only what adds weight. Allow silence to breathe. Listen fully. Observe deeply. Your presence gains gravity from restraint. People remember how you made them feel, often more than what you said. Now, consider creating space for yourself. Not being omnipresent online, not performing constantly, not reacting to every impulse. Presence grows when you retreat intentionally, protect your focus, and reserve your energy. Absence sharpens appreciation, just as silence sharpens attention in music. Boundaries are not coldness. They are strategy, ensuring your presence remains valuable, deliberate, and magnetic. Cultivate joy and humor. The person who radiates steady, warm laughter softens tension effortlessly. Stoic joy is not performance. It is a disciplined choice to notice beauty, to cultivate gratitude, to find lightness amidst chaos. Humor, when rooted in authenticity, creates connection. It is resilience in action, the power to respond with levity, even in adversity. Finally, self-care underpins all of these qualities. True presence, elegance, influence, and independence require a body and mind in harmony. Discipline in diet, rest, movement, and mental clarity is not vanity. It is preparation for life itself. Without it, composure falters. With it, your presence becomes unshakable. As Montaigne said, "The greatest thing in the world is to know how to belong to oneself." Self-care is belonging. To summarize, quiet power arises from layered practice. Independence rooted in principle. Presence cultivated through composure and listening. Elegance in restraint. Emotional intelligence in action. Consistency in reliability. Joy and humor in approach. And self-care as foundation. None of this demands performance. It grows silently, visibly felt yet rarely imitated. So I ask you once more, how will you walk in your next room? Will you scatter noise for attention, or will you carry the quiet gravity that leaves people changed by simply being near you? The choice is yours. But the journey begins with deliberate daily practice. If this message resonates, consider letting it shape one choice today, a moment of calm, a pause before speaking, a deliberate act of self-respect. Over time, these moments compound into a presence that is unforgettable, influence that is natural, and life that is aligned with your truest self.